Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Jared at 3Cs. I am excited. This is the first 2026 beta to show up, and it is the 300 RRX Pro. TJ will be here in about 35 minutes to grab this bike because we open right at 9 on a Saturday. Two side notes before we jump into this video. One, if you could please consider subscribing to our channel. It certainly helps. And side note number two is if you guys are buying your beta parts on the betausa.com website, if you could please choose 3Cs Recreation as your dealer. We make a small commission on those orders. Helps us make these videos. We spend a ton of money every year riding new bikes out of the showroom. So that's my spiel. Enough about that. Let's jump into this new bike. I'm going to try to do this in one take with our limited amount of time this morning. So obviously the 300s are by far our biggest seller. I think the 200s are closing that gap a little bit. But this 300, you can do everything. We can go ride some moto with some buddies. We can go do a ton of single track. We can follow our kids around. So this bike can be in the garage and it'll do everything. So second year for the all new forks, the separate hydraulic chamber forks. And if you watch any of our videos from the dealer meeting last year, I took another Jared. There was two of us. I'm Jared Anslow and Jared Fortner. We loved the new fork setup on this thing. And it showed because how quickly that bike sold out this year. They sold out of X Pro 300s so early in the year. So if you want to actually see some ride footage of this fork design, check out our videos from about a year ago, because that's when we were at the dealer meeting. So we're going to rave about this suspension. We think it's really, really good for single track guys. Now, if you're going to go do a lot of moto, or if you're an XC1 Pro rider, we still want to put you on the race edition. There's a couple over there. But we want to stick most of my trail riders on this X Pro chassis. So let's start right at the top. So we got the controls, clutch lever, high beam, low beam, horn, left, right turn signal block. Now the bike's wired for turn signals depending on your state. New York, I cannot put them on the road. This is our dual ignition map. So when we start the bike, this would light up and then you can choose your selection. Pretty simple display. So miles per hour, odometer, and you could rotate this to show hours and then trip meter and then the time. Now you'll notice that this is your speedo sensor wire and it's not in the block down here. There's a plastic block that has all of your connectors. We always take this out and route it separately, because when your suspension is collapsing and your forks are coming up in motion, this cable is tied to your brake line and it's going to put more pressure on this connector right here. So we give it a lot more room. I get a lot of phone calls from around the country of people, their speedo quits working because they have a magnet down here in the front rotor right there, and I can probably trip it. So if I did that, yeah, look at that, we turned it on. Might not have, 4 or 5, look how fast that was. So 5 mile an hour. And that'll probably quit working if you rip this thing apart too many times. So that's one of the little things that we do here at 3Cs. Of course, everything behind here is dielectric greased as well. So when you're buying a bike from us, this isn't a Super Center build. This is a 3Cs, we're into betas build. So across the handlebars, so we talked about the display. These are your steering stem keys, and I leave them zip tied to the bike because they go right here. You put it, so you would turn the bars just like this all the way to the left. You would lock it in, and then your bars would be locked. I guess, on this model, I think I'd be okay with it if it didn't come on it, but they do. And you could probably cut this right off the frame and none of us would be upset about that. And then over here we have the kill switch and start button. We'll start it here in a minute. We'll panic rev it before TJ gets here. Just kidding. I won't do that, TJ. And then we got the front brake and then your throttle. Now I leave a little bit of play on this. They come with about double this from the factory. And so I adjust it with a jam nut here, because you want to make sure left and right, we're not going to be too tight on that. And I'll let the customer do the final. Braxton likes a super tight, all the race guys here like a super tight throttle, meaning they don't want hardly any play. So that's up to the customer. This model is going to take a regular gasoline. Now, upon initial setup, I have 1 gallon of gas in here that is pre-mixed. So we got pre-mix plus oil injection, which is going to give us more smoke initially. So when we start this bike, you're going to go, oh my gosh, it's okay, because we're getting double the oil. And we'll look for like an air bubble in this line here. I don't see much for air bubbles. And also, I messed with these oil lines. So this is your oil injection line. It's got the oil tank in the air box, and it's got the line feeding through. You can kind of see it snaking along through here. I'm really picky about those. When I set a bike up, I make sure, you can't really tell because the frame and the exhaust in the way, but you can see how it's routed nicely coming up through. When we got this bike, there was a huge loop of oil line here. It was way too much outside of the air box. And I don't think most dealers know to play with that, because if this slack would have gone back here, it would have pushed it against your shock. So just little things, man, like that's why we do this. So This is really tight. I like the way this one looks. We'll stay over here. This is our power valve adjuster. Now we have videos on the channel on how to do that as well, so I won't spend too much time. I will say, if you go in with it, it's going to take more crack of the throttle to get the power valve to open, and the further out it is, the sooner the power valve opens. So on a muddy trail ride, I would rather have it out so the power is a smoother delivery, and you could screw it in if you're on a motocross track and you want that hit later in the power band. So that's what I'm going to talk about there. This is our oil fill. So easy with the Beta 2-stroke 300s and 250s. Literally, like, here's your fill cap, and then here's your drain plug. Like, you don't have to take a skid plate off. If you got one of those hard enduro skid plates that's super hard to get off because they buckle and they're thicker plastic, you don't have to take it off. You just slide some. You don't really even need much. Just like a nice piece of plastic here. Guide your oil down into a drain pan. Refill it here. Now Beta does let you still do the kickstart, which is amazing, right? Let's talk about that for a second, because on the Beta 2-strokes, we're still carbureted, meaning that we could take this battery completely out of this bike, set it on the ground over there, and as long as we could either kickstart it or bump start it, this bike will continue to run. We were actually riding last year, and I saved another guy on another brand of bike because I took my battery out, gave it to him, and I had the kickstart kit in my bike, and I rode the rest of the day. It didn't matter. So huge benefit to these Betas, you guys, like having that still on there, ability to add it. Ooh, this is all new. This is huge. Check this out. So I have not seen this yet. I'm looking at it live here with you guys. This is cool, a new brake line. How stiff is this thing? Oh, it's really in there. Okay. That is cool. So we're routing the brake line a little differently, giving it less of a bend here, and I like that, kind of following the swing arm down right into the caliper. Now all of this looks the same as last year to me, but that is new. That is pretty sweet. And so we got the billet hubs. I love the Beta wheel spacers. If you guys have had a Beta, you know that your wheel bearings last forever on these things. It's not like a, like the all balls. I'm not picking on them, but you're replacing them every 2 races. That's not a lot of fun. And Beta talked about an all new rear brake light for this year. So there it is. I'm not sure that it looks, maybe it's a little smaller, but this plastic looks the same and this looks the same. So there's my news and notes on that. All new rear tail lights. So that's gonna be tail light and brake light. And you can see the grab handles under here. So if you're trying to pick this thing up, you can get it right on your hip. Nice, strong. This is super strong. Like it's moving the whole bike there. Also, with the Betas, is they come with a very, very strong DID chain. Like, you will not replace this chain until you're ready to replace these sprockets. This isn't like buying a Suzuki or something out of the showroom. Chain's a little tight, but that'll break in a little. I'll talk to TJ about that a little bit when he gets here. I like a little bit more chain slack. Now, this bike is up in the air, so if it was on the ground, I think it'd be right where I want it to be. Usually from the factory, they come really good. We don't usually tinker with it too much. Chain adjusters are cool. I wish the Beta would change this little way of doing this. This is a pain in the butt. Like, you're trying to count like 3 little divots versus like 3 of these things. I don't enjoy that. I like the standard like notches here. You can count notches rather than waves, trying to match stuff up. So there's one thing on these Beta chain adjusters. I just wish it was different. Not a huge fan. The stock foot pegs though, we love these. In fact, a lot of the old style race editions, people were going back to these foot pegs. The race editions did make improvements last year, so we didn't sell as many. They've been staying with their race edition pegs, but we still love these standard pegs. They're a really good item. And here's the beauty of this bike, right? So we have our carburetor, so that means we have a fuel shut off. So we have reserve, off, and on. And I tell all of my customers, please run your bike in reserve all of the time, because if we unscrewed this petcock, and we have a video on the channel, if we took this petcock out, the straw on this is like, it's way up in here. So at about half a tank of gas, you run out. I really wish Beta on reserve would make reserve more of a true reserve. Like if the fuel petcock was only this tall, I'd probably tell you guys to run the bike on rather than reserve, and then that way you would actually have a true reserve. But with it being a clear gas tank, and of course my fuel line is right here right now, so you can't really tell. You can kind of see it if we peek up in here. There's our gas line. So that's good. And then I would probably eliminate the thermostat if it was me. This is the big, ugly, clunky looking thing. The Samco hose kit is nice. It would just take the hose straight down out of the frame, straight into here. So the hose kit is one thing that we do upgrade a lot to eliminate that big, ugly mess. I guess if you're just trail riding or whatever, you can be fine with it. But The thermostat just allows the motor to warm up before you take off, but as a rider that's buying a Beta, typically they already have that in mind and they know to watch out for a warm motor. And over here we have our choke, and this is our idle screw and then air screw down here. So typically you make a little bit of an adjustment right out of the box with the upper one, really fine tune that idle. Now I always set idle for when the bike is warm. If we were to set idle right now when it's dead cold, and when we start it for you guys, it's probably not going to idle the greatest until the engine is warmed up. And then that's when we're ready for it to actually idle good for you guys. So choke, screws, there's another look at that little oil line there on that beautiful carburetor. Carb comes out super easy, you guys. 2 clamps. I usually remove the upper chain guard, get that out of the way, and I can rock that carburetor right out of here. I actually did an Instagram reel and I got over 1 million views a couple weeks ago. It's pretty funny how many views that got. So that's this side of the motor. We got the nice kickstand and the strap to hold that up. Fork, front brakes, there's really not a lot to brag about. Last year they went back to the standard radiator cap, and we think that's cool. It's a good design. And they dented the radiators like from the factory, so we get a lot more turn last year. And just pushing this bike out this morning, I noticed it. So thankfully Beta listened a little bit, and so we get a tighter turning radius. And let's see, there's not even like a jam nut or anything anymore. It's just straight to a tab. So that's pretty cool. No more nut to try to take off the backside. So that's going to be maximum turning no matter what. Like there's no more bolt to remove. But like I said, I think it's really good. One less thing for us to be like talking to the consumer about or like chat forums saying Betas don't turn good. I think they cured that. So thankful for that. Let me try to pop this seat off. Typically with one hand, it's really hard to do. Oh, got it. Sweet. Okay, so there's our seat. Now last year Beta went to this new battery, which I'm thankful for. Their the other brand there wasn't super hot, wasn't working the greatest. So super simple system. Starter solenoid, wire runs right to the battery, power, so it's easy. Here's our oil injection tank. Now I tell everybody to please fill this on the side stand, because if I kept filling this right now, let it come all the way to the bottom of here, and I take this bike off and I put it on the side stand, it has a really nasty lean angle. Like all the Betas really come over on the kickstand, and that means that oil in that tank would really slush over and it would actually come out the breather hole on the top of this cap. One side note on these caps is you might end up seeing, you can see that the internal cap piece there, that might end up in the bottom of your oil tank. It just might. And people call the time like, oh, I found these pieces in there. I'm like, yeah, it's off the bottom of your cap. That's like to prevent oil from coming back out. But also underneath here, there was originally a green check valve in here. They fall off in the tank too. So we take the check valve off, and on these gas caps, you really, really want to pay attention to make sure that your O-ring in there doesn't have a lip on it. So we've had like 6-7 bikes last year where this O-ring inside of here, the sealing ring, it was like kind of like kicked up, and it would dent this tank in a certain spot, because when you crank this down tight, and it would dent the tank, and then it would let gas come out. So we had some bikes that we had to like fix the gas tanks on. But the smart thing to do as a dealer is to look at this O-ring and see how it's sitting flush all the way around. This one's good. We're good to go. I already checked it. I wasn't going to put that on film if it wasn't. And so we're good to go. That's another little thing here at the shop I do. I don't think anybody else understands that or knows about it. So I am going to recommend the TJ to put a check valve in here, because we still don't want gas. If we tip over, we need to have some sort of check valve to keep gas from pouring out. So we remove this one. He needs to put something in line there. And I will put the seat back on, maybe with one hand. I'm going to give you the news and notes on the seat, because it hasn't changed, but I still see a ton of errors. So we have to catch here, and we have to catch here with these seats. And so that, you know, that matches this profile, and it matches here. I have a lot of guys that start with their seat and they like start way too high, and you can see we would have missed that middle one there, right? And if I would have pushed down on the seat, we're gonna have like a buckle in the seat. So if I pull back a little bit, you can see it fell under it, and maybe with one hand, I did it, it's in. So that's our seat, and I'm looking at the gate up there to see if TJ is sitting up there, because he's gonna be here right at 9. We're getting close, I bet. So to pop this off, easy to do. There's our air filter. We love these things. It's so easy to get out. They make those twin air wash covers. I'm a huge fan. If you're gonna wash your bike, take that air filter out, put the wash cover in, and plug your exhaust, and you can wash this whole bike without worrying about it. Huge fan of these. And Beta's been doing a good job of like greasing all these, making sure they look good. It's got a really good seal all the way around. We're happy with this one. I would recommend at home pulling the ECU apart. Let's look at this one. You know what? I haven't done it yet, and I want to show you guys on film how do the ECUs look this year. So we're looking for corrosion. This is straight off the crate. We're looking really good in there. So I'm excited. We have nothing to worry about in this one. I'm gonna put some dielectric grease in there before he gets here, because we always do that. That's what we do. So let's put that back on there like that. You heard it click. We'll get that taken care of before he gets here. Oil line, and this is where I pulled that oil line back up in the air box. You see that extra loop in here? I pulled that back up in. It kind of comes down along here. I wanted the extra in here. I didn't want the extra in the front. So I'm gonna try to stick this back on, and then we'll start the spike for you guys. So you just kind of like line all those tabs up, and then you just push in, if I can. One. Maybe that one already went in. Yeah, it's already in the tab in the back there. So that's locked in. This engine's dead cold. I have not started it yet. I've been touching the whole thing this whole time. We haven't cut the film yet either. So let's maybe give her a little. Nah, we'll see. No choke. Now I told you the idle is a little low, right? Because I'm prepping for this bike for when the engine's warmed up. What I just did is I played with the choke for like half a second to kind of bring that idle up. But I don't want to idle perfect now. I want to idle whenever the motor's warm. We're just looking for vibration, right? Everybody's always worried about that. I'd say it's pretty darn good. It really cleans up, like on idle, because it's a big motor. It's gonna, but watch when we increase the RPM a little bit. That all kind of goes away and it evens out. Here's that map switch, right? One side to the other. We got that throttle nice and tight. We're getting a lot more smoke right now because I got double the oil, right? And I already sucked. Oh, look at that. Good. We got an air bubble. We can show you guys. See that air bubble? Watch when I blip the throttle. It's kind of hard to tell, but I need to like stay on the throttle longer, but it'll suck that through there faster, right? Because our TPS sensor is recognizing the throttle's open, and the TPS sensor goes, oh, we need more oil. So that's good. We got an oil bubble. I actually like to see that. That way I know the bike is working for the customer. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. All right, guys, thanks for watching. That was the first 2026 to come in. We're so excited. We have actually a lot of 25 leftovers. I brought in a lot of bikes last couple of weeks, like 30 bikes, because the deals are good. Call me if you want a 25, at least some kind of timely manner when this video is being produced, because there's great deals on 25s. The 26s did go up about $1,000. That's just the way it is. So hopefully maybe next year, the raw materials, things like that kind of come down in price. But as of right now, they're about $1,000 more than a 25 would be. So if there's a certain model you're looking for, don't be afraid to give us a call. We love selling bikes. We're big into beta. And again, please consider subscribing to our channel. And if you wouldn't mind choosing us on the beta website as your parts dealer, we would certainly appreciate that. It really helps every month. So enjoy the ride. I'll see you in the trail.